Hey, Bert Salazar here. Hope that all of you are doing well. Obviously, we're going through very difficult times with the coronavirus and the impact that it's having on the US and throughout the world. As a matter of fact, last Saturday, I went ahead and did a webinar for the vast majority of my clients and for many of you that joined us on the impact of the coronavirus on your retirement assets. And I named it, Has the Coronavirus Caused Your 401k to Become a 201k? And I mean that seriously because I've been getting phone calls every day from individuals who are listening to my seminars and my podcast and my webinars, and they're seeing a tremendous amount of losses in their retirement accounts. And the question is, well, what am I going to do that? What am I going to do now? How am I going to be able to, stop the bleeding and move forward and so forth? So one of the things that I did in the webinar last week, and I'm not going to go into a lot of details because I'm just taking a few minutes. If you're interested in getting the full version of that webinar, which is a 1-hour webinar full of all kinds of really, really good information that you can take and apply to your personal situation at this point in time, is you can go ahead and call me at area code 786-766-1042. You can also send me an email at Bert, B-E-R-T, at gablestaxgroup.com. And, for many, many years, I've been telling a lot of my clients and many of the listeners that we have as part of our firm, to make certain that you always have a principal protection program in place. Because, Warren Buffett said many years ago that he had two investments rules that he always wanted to maintain. Rule number one, never lose the principal of your investment. And rule number two, don't ever forget rule number one. Now, the problem is that the vast majority of you have forgotten all of it because you put all of your money at risk. You have been investing in the market for many, many years. I would get calls from clients telling me, Bert, over the last 10 years, I've done really, really well in the market. Well, I can tell you the following. Even a monkey would have done really, really well over the past 10 years. Why? Because we went through the longest bull market in American history. Usually bull markets are going to last anywhere between 4 and 5 years. We went through a 10-year bull market, and even a monkey could have done better because all you had to do is take a dart, throw it against a wall, and wherever it landed, you were going to make some money. Now tell me how good you're doing today. Tell me how good you are managing your money in this bear market. And for me, the definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over again and expecting a different result. For many of you that I talk to on a regular basis, you're either in retirement or you're anywhere between 5 and 10 years away from retirement. And if you're in retirement, you have some challenges ahead of you because all of a sudden you have an asset that is depreciating in value, yet in order to maintain your standard of living, you have to go into that asset every day or every month and pull money out in order to maintain your lifestyle. Therefore, you may never recover from this. And by the same token, inflation, number one, will continue to go every single day. Inflation is not tax deductible, as some people may not even know from that perspective. So you need to understand how to manage risk. And when it comes to your retirement assets, you need to make sure that you look at them through a retirement risk management prism as opposed to anything else. And the fatal four of retirement, you have to be able to protect. And you have to be able to protect your assets accordingly. The risk of dying too soon and the impact that would have on your family, the risk of living too long and running out of money before you run out of life, the risk of living with a disability like long-term care issues and concerns that 70% of you, statistically speaking, are going to have to go through at some point in time in your lives. And then last but not least is the risk of eroding factors, which includes taxes, inflation, stock market volatility, which we're all dealing with today, interest rate volatility, propensity to consume, and so forth. And one of the things that I can tell you, I did some calculations because I always like to go back and take a look at the financial world. And I did some calculations, which I wrote down. And I said, look, In 1999, now regardless, I don't care how well the market has done for you in the last 10 years, you really haven't done that well to begin with. In 1999, the Dow closed for the first time at 10,000 in 1999. Now, fast forward 20 years later, and this is as of late last week, the market was at 23,185. Now, that was before we had that major market drop. So that means that over a 20-year period, the Dow, with the 10 best years that you can imagine, the average return on the Dow was 4.29%. As a matter of fact, if I would have gone all the way before we started with this bear market, which is only about 3 weeks ago, the market was at 29,343. That would have been a 5.5% rate of return. And as of this morning, as I'm doing this webcast for you, the market is at 20,235. So that means that over the past 20 years, the market has averaged 3.59%. So let me ask you this. If you're going to take all that risk in that market, or whatever, by the way, just so you'll know, this bear market has done away with all the gains that you have had so far in 2020, up until the bear market crash, all of the gains in 2019, all of the gains of 2018. If you have your retirement accounts in an account or into a set of accounts where in less than 3 weeks, you can lose all of the gains that you have had for years, the question is, do you really have a retirement account? I would argue you have nothing. You don't have a retirement account, and you don't have the ability at this point in time, to prevent any future losses unless you do proper risk management. As a matter of fact, just to give you some ideas, if you were to lose 40% today, it's going to take a 67% return in 1 year for you to break even. Now, I have never seen a 67% rate of return on any given year, but let's say you were able to get an 8% rate of return year after year after a 40% drop. Well, guess what? It's going to take you 6.6 years before you can get back that 40% that you lost, but it doesn't include taxes and it doesn't include inflation. So for most of you, you're never going to recover from this market crash unless you're young enough to allow that money to continue to grow tax deferred without touching it for any reason whatsoever. So some of you that I got a call from this week already put your money in cash. Now, so you took a tremendous dive and then you put all the money in cash. Okay, so that's good. At least you're stopping the bleeding. Because most of you, I've been telling you for the last 3 weeks to stop the bleeding, but you failed to do that. And what happened was the boat was sinking and it was full of holes. And instead of plugging the holes, you allowed the boat to sink even further before you started to think about what to do next. Now, for those of you that have taken the liberty to go to cash, now the big question is going to be, well, when do you get back into the market? Do you get back in the market once the market has been up 10%, 15%, 20%? Most of you are going to wait it out. And by the time that you get back in the market, because now you're going to feel a lot more comfortable about getting into the market, you have probably already lost that appreciation of that 10, 15, 20%. So what is the answer to all this? You need to have a principal protection program. And just like going to Baskin Robbins for ice cream, there are 31 flavors. I'm not going to go into a lot of details or any details at this point in time, but depending on your individual circumstance, depending on your age, depending on how many more years you have into retirement, depending if you're already in retirement, depending on how much money do you need on a monthly basis to maintain your standard of living, that will dictate what type of principal protection program you need to have. Now, a principal protection, one of the ones that I recommend to my clients often is a fixed index annuity. And the reason for that is a fixed index annuity, what you're doing is you're transferring the risk of bear markets and market depreciation from yourself to an insurance company. And that's what a fixed index annuity does. It gives you the ability to protect your principal and, most important, the gains in your principal. So if you put $100,000 into a fixed index annuity, and then next year the annuity grows to $110,000, Now the new protection on that annuity would be 110,000, not just 100 that you put in to begin with. It also allows you to participate in a percentage of the growth in the stock market. And you have to be very careful with that one because you want to make certain that you do it the right way. For those of you and for some of you that are concerned about long-term care, some of these principal protection and fixed index annuity programs provide long-term care protection, and they also provide guaranteed income for life. So if you think of it as a Social Security benefit, or if you have a guaranteed pension, but if you don't have one and you want to create one for yourself and your family, you can use certain fixed index annuities that will allow you to do that on your behalf. At the end of the day, one of the things that you need to be aware of is that if you have just lost a lot of the money that you had set aside for retirement, then you really don't have a retirement account, because anything can destroy all of that time, all of that effort, and all of that hard work and the hard-earned dollars that you have put away for retirement. So only fools will follow the definition of insanity. I hope you're not one of them. Now, if you have any more questions, please feel free to reach out to me and schedule a 30-minute conference call with me, and we can do a video conference where we can see each other and we can try to figure out what it is that is keeping you awake at night from a financial standpoint and see if I can help you. You can call me at area code 786-766-1042. You can also send me an email at Bert, B-E-R-T, at gablestaxgroup.com. And always remember that my goal for each and every one of you is to kind of help you change the way that you see things, because when you change the way that you see things, the things that you see change. So again, thanks for giving me a few minutes of your time today. Good luck to all of you, and we'll talk again soon. Take care.